The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew. Jesus left the house and sat by the lakeside, but such crowds gathered round him that he got into a boat and sat there. The people all stood on the beach, and he told them many things in parables. He said, "Imagine a sower going out to sow. As he sowed, some seed fell on the edge of the path, and the birds came and ate them up. Others fell on patches of rock, where they found little soil and sprang up straight away, because there was no deep of earth. But as soon as the sun came up, they were scorched, and not having any roots, they withered away. Others fell among thorns, and the thorns grew up and choked them. Others fell on rich soil and produced their crop, some 100-fold, some 60, some 30. Listen, anyone who has ears." The Gospel of the Lord.
The Word of God today appeals to us to change our heart, to mellow our heart, to make a heart that receives, that is ready, that is fruitful. Whenever I read this Gospel, I always remember of what a saintly priest once written in his autobiography. David Mario Turoldo is his name, an Italian priest who died a few years ago. In his book, in his life book, autobiography, he said, "I cannot speak of the excitement, the love, the enthusiasm I experienced the first time I went to the Holy Land. I think that's something that each one of us experiences the first time we go to the Holy Land, if ever we go." This priest who was there and walked on the streets where Jesus walked, at one moment, when he was sitting by the lake of Galilee, he imagined Jesus present with him. And he said, wouldn't it be beautiful if Jesus was really here with me, and I could talk to him, I could converse with him, and I could ask him questions about my doubts in faith. He said, wouldn't it have been beautiful if I have spoken face to face with my Lord? And this is the experience he had and wrote in the book. Then when he went back to Italy, one day he reflected upon his Holy Land experience. And he said, no, I don't envy those people who lived in the time of Jesus. And I don't regret it anymore that I was not there, one of those people who lived in his time and spoke to him personally. I don't envy them anymore. He said, because who knows whether I would have accepted the word of Jesus at that time. Or I could have been one of those people who spoke to him, who heard his voice, who saw his miracles, and yet they crucified him. They did not follow him. Could I have not been one of them? And so he said, no, I prefer to live now, in my time. After 2,000 years of experience of faith, of people who lived the Word of God, who received it and lived it to the full. So many saints before us, so many good people, so many holy people. My parents, people you have loved in your life and who are not with you anymore, and you know how good they were, how they tried to live as close as possible to God. These are the people that speak to us today. And this word of God that He gives us today, this is what He's telling us. Today, when you hear the word of God, let it change you. Let it make a difference in your life. Don't let it go by like water that goes on people who are not showered, the birds that are not affected, like doves. Let it make a difference. Let it change your life. And when you hear the word of God, it is to bear fruit. That's why He gives it to us. That's why we hear it every Sunday. Not just to come here as a habit, as a custom, even if it is a nice custom and a nice habit to do. But we need to hear the Word of God so that it changes our life. It provokes us to be better people, to be people that carry the good news to others, people who are ready to forgive, people who are ready to love. The only word and the only great example that Jesus gave us with His life was to live in love. There is a very old story. Two brothers, very, very old legend story. Two brothers shared a big field where they planted their wheat and had a mill. And they decided and agreed that they will share half by half. They worked both of them on the field. The difference is that one of the brothers had his wife and 4 children. The other brother was a single person. And so they agreed to toil this field and to share each day, each night, to share in the work that they had done and fill the stores. The younger brother, who was single, reflected one day. He said, it's not fair that I take as much as my brother, who has a wife and 4 children to care for. And so he said, what I do is during the night, I take some of my wheat that we have worked upon and put it in the store of my brother, silently, without telling him anything. And this is what he did. During the night, he always used to go silently, take some of the stores and the work that they have worked together with, and put it in the store of his brother. His brother, who had a wife and children, once too, he reflected upon. He said, is it fair that I have my children, 4 children here, who are working for me, and one day, when I am old, they will take care of me? But my brother, he's alone. He has no wife. He has no children. Who is going to take care of him in his old age? He said, it's not fair. So I know what I do. During the night, I take some of the crops that we have worked together and put it in the store of my younger brother. And this is what he did. And one day they noticed that their stores remained the same all the time. One night, early in the morning, they met each other in the road when they were carrying their crops to each one's store. And at that moment they realized what they were doing, and they hugged each other in love. This is a story, but could it happen today? This is a question that we do. Love that moves us. Love that moves our faith. That love that gives us hope to move forward. When we love, when we care for each other, yes, God will help us. God is there with us all the time. And this is the Word of God today. Let's open our heart with acts of love all the time. And I can assure you, each word of God that we hear every Sunday here will bear fruit in our lives. Let's read together this prayer that we have on the screens. I look at my word, our word, a sign of wonder, a symbol of God's creation. Populations are displaced. Mud slips, decisions are made, boundaries are relocated, countries are renamed, and I realize that nothing stays the same. Change is painful, change is frightening, yet change can also bring new life. I look at our world, I look at our churches, my church, source of life and light and warmth. Let your Holy Spirit, weaving, moving, threading, living and breathing among us, give us the courage to change, so we may move forward together in life, in death, in new life, and draw closer to one another and to the cross, that puzzling sign of wonder, symbol of God's creative